we're here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Making news just for you. It's November 10th here in Seoul. I'm Shin-Yoon, and you're watching News Generation. Joining me in the studio is Cheska Daima.
Happy Friday, everyone!
Happy Friday!
Woo!
And Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
Now, both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. As usual, let's start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. The Screen Actors Guild American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, or SAG for short, reached an indefinite agreement with the studios on Wednesday, ending the longest strike in Hollywood's history. The strike lasted 118 days, and the strikers demanded a pay increase and protections for actors against artificial intelligence. Moving on, just a week ahead of the Sunung, the nationwide college scholastic ability test, the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety has detected around 200 online adverts illegally selling ADHD treatment called methylphenidate. These adverts fraudulently called it study meds to boost attention spans and help students concentrate on their studies. This is a prescription drug that can only be bought at pharmacies with a doctor's note. That's why officials are cracking down on the legal buying and selling of this drug. And staying on news in Korea, bedbug infestation is a pressing concern in the country. There's ongoing rumors as to how bedbugs are spreading. One popular myth is that bedbugs are latching onto our delivery boxes or parcels, which is raising eyebrows since many here in the country frequently use delivery services to get their daily necessities such as groceries. Now, according to disinfection experts, though, there's a very small chance that bedbugs would sneak into parcel and reproduce there. Instead of worrying about that, experts suggested that we better dust off our clothes after going outside, but we're still seeing many rumors like this spread, pointing to just how bedbugs are causing jitters among our generation. And you guys are on social media, so I'm well aware that you might have seen all these different videos showing these bedbugs latching onto our beds, also rumors. What did you think about them?
First off, good joke with the jitters.
Yes.
So,
thanks for noticing.
So this is something that my wife has been paranoid since the rumors started. So basically, when I go home, she forces me to wash my clothes straight away, have a shower, and make sure I'm clean. She also jumps on the bandwagon of, oh, it's coming through parcel, so let's not do the parcel delivery service for quite some time. I'm a little bit more relaxed because it's not an unusual thing in Australia. We did see it quite a fair bit. And to be honest with you, if you just keep your house clean, well disinfected, and especially with your sheets, change them regularly, you won't really have that problem. And I also go with the disinfection, whatever they were called, but yeah, I don't think they're going to go through parcels. I think that's just a myth.
It is a myth, and that's exactly why what I would like to point out through this newsfeed story is that a lot of the public is scared because we haven't seen bed bugs in a long time. South Korea has relatively been bed bug free for quite a while because disinfection, but now with warmer temperatures and also the fact that they're building immunity against these insecticides and we're not allowed to use potent ones, I think we're seeing more bed bugs, which is causing us to be really scared and listening to all these rumors, right?
Absolutely, and I agree with you. And unlike Walter, Korea is not very familiar with bed bugs, as Ian mentioned. And I think that's what the scariest, the unfamiliar is always the more scary. But as experts mentioned, as long as we sort of steam our clothes and wash our bed sheets in hot water, bed bugs are supposed to be kind of eradicated. But what I worry more is in villages and towns where elderlies live alone, and it's very difficult to kind of get that hygiene and cleanliness. So I really hope that the government kind of steps up to do infestation sort of round checks in those neighborhoods where it's very difficult to have those regular washings and kind of cleanly taken care of.
For sure, and officials are implementing a 4-week inspection program where they will be going to all these different centers, checking up on sanitation, and making sure that the public stigma becomes a bit contained, given that this can be eradicated and it can be solved. And that was our news feed for this Friday. Let's now switch gears into our main discussion topic of the day. Tomorrow is November 11th, popularly known in Korea as Pepero And Pepero are chocolate-covered sticks. On this day, friends or lovers give each other Pepero because these long chocolate sticks resemble the digit 1. And November 11th happens to have 4 ones. Now, apart from the snacks manufacturers using this day as a marketing scheme, the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry also celebrates November 11th as Farmers' Day. And that's because this time of the year is best for farmers to relax and enjoy their harvest. And in light of Farmers' Day, we're going to take a look at one of the main crops harvested in Korea. My AI voice secretary will tell you more.
Korean food is dominating the world. At the center of all the fancy dishes that are spreading through word of mouth is one key staple food, rice. That's why there's even a famous adage in Korean called babshin. This means living through the power of rice, referring to how our people used to plow through fields and lived off of heaping bowls of rice. But recent data shows that the country's rice consumption has come down over the years. Changes in diet and eating habits have led per capita rice consumption to be steadily dropping.
In light of Farmers' Day, we're going to be talking about how much we produce and consume one of the main crops in Korea, and that's rice. So, Cheska, as we just heard from my AI voice secretary,
Yes.
the adage of Koreans living off of rice seems to be out of place these days, mainly because we're seeing per capita rice consumption plummet, right?
I was actually quite surprised to see the numbers because I consume rice very frequently. So let's take a look at the screen to see the numbers have changed. So this illustrates that in just about a little over a decade, rice consumption per person dropped by more than half. And looking at the years in between, it has steadily declined throughout. And I think these figures does also show that our diet patterns have changed because previously 3 meals a day was almost a golden rule, right? You know, your mums and dad would force you to have the 3-meal rule. But nowadays we practice, intermittent dieting and fasting for multiple reasons. And, let's also account for the fact that portions have become quite small too.
Exactly. And as we mentioned before, papsim, we're the nation living off
Rice
of the power
power.
of rice.
Yeah.
But we're not
Powered
seeing
by
that.
rice.
Exactly, powered by rice. But Walter, it seems that we're not even seeing a lot of people eating rice, which is why we're seeing a lot of leftovers, right?
That's right. Well, I don't know why Cheska's portions seem to get smaller because mine seem to be getting a lot bigger. But I guess, yes, the real question is what are we going to do with this wasted rice? Now, more than 200,000 tons of rice goes to waste every year. And I do think that we take rice for granted as it is a food that can be grown all year round and it's in most Korean restaurants. Most houses have a rice cooker. Back in the day, if you live in Australia, rice cooker is actually one of the worst presents you could buy somebody.
Really?
Yeah, they use a pot, but rice cookers are everywhere. They always have rice in them, but then people just don't get around to eating them. And I know I'm a part of that statistic because I do cook rice and then we ended up just leaving it in there.
Right.
And so we have to waste it. But what I do try to do is make sort of like a fried rice, like what do they call it?
누룽지.
Nurungji. That's right. Yeah. So if it's like an outdated one, I try to recycle it at least. But I do know a lot goes to waste.
And for those of our viewers who don't know what nurungji is, this is just rice. Usually you do use leftover rice and then fry it on a pan or just stick it onto a really heated oven or something. And then it becomes like this really crisp snack.
Yeah,
it's like a little chip, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
it's similar
it's
to a
like
chip. Like
You can have it as a chip or keep those and then pour hot water in it and then make the so-called sungyung, which is it's just so
nice.
soothing,
It
right?
just soothes you, warms up your body. But now, although a lot of our
We're
parents,
all so
including
excited
myself,
about
yes, we love rice, it does seem that our generation is leading this type of trend of less rice consumption. And since we have more options compared to our ancestors, it's only understandable that we not only look for other options like bread or noodles, we just don't seem to be turning to rice these days.
Yep.
So could you two elaborate on why more Korean millennials and Gen Z aren't eating as much as rice compared to our older generation?
Absolutely. And as Walter mentioned, I think we are part of that generation. So I can also attest to this because, I grew up with grandparents who sort of said, only eat rice and, 3 meals a day with rice. But we are the quote unquote snack culture, both literally and metaphorically. The diet fad also played a very big part in it. And rice was wrongfully sort of labeled as, quote, carbs are bad. Right? So nowadays, I think people go to 2 extremes, either skipping meals and replacing it with, quick grabs, fast food, or protein shakes even, or just committing to full eat out at Western dining options and try to enjoy the experience as well as the cuisine. And I kind of speak for myself, but I think the rapid boom of cafes, bakeries, and pastries have definitely swayed our options. Just to give you an example, just yesterday, when I'm done with the show, I usually go to grab like kimbap because I love them. But I always have a difficult time finding like cute kimbap places where I can sit and read or just check up on my emails. So what I usually do is I end up going to cafes, order coffee, and then what do? You order a sandwich or like a pastry. So you end up replacing that time or opportunity with all these Western dining options.
And quick grabs. I mean, it's easier to just have a sandwich in your hand rather than go out to like a Korean cuisine and sit down and eat rice.
Yes, even though it's more delicious.
It's much
just
more delicious, but it just takes that much time. Now, what about you, Walter? Why do you think our generation isn't eating as much rice?
Jessica, I think you've given me a good idea for a business, a kimbap cafe.
Oh, yeah.
That's mine. Can we just
I think it's definitely coming down to how we live here in Korea. We're a very rapid, busy society, and we work very long hours, leaving MZers feel like they have less need to cook. And so therefore, as Jessica mentioned before, fast foods, delivery foods are also so easy to get these days. And it's just become more commonplace. And a lot of the foods on these delivery apps are from different like cuisines, and some of them, not all of them, involved with rice. There's a lot of Western food. Again, I am also a person who's sadly fallen into this area, and it's not that I don't want to cook. I really do, but it is due to my schedule where I'm always working and I won't get home till late.
True.
And cooking does take time as much as I love it, but sometimes I won't get home till 8 or 9 o'clock. And if you start cooking then, that's, you won't be eating till 10 or 11, which is too late. So I recently got sick of fast food and started going into those, I guess they call them lunch boxes here, doshirak, but those pre-ordered ones, or the pre-made ones. I also don't like that. However, this is just the society we live in at the moment, especially with busy people like ourselves.
Right. The economic atmosphere definitely drives up different socio-cultural backgrounds. And I do think that our generation is leading this so-called less rice consumption trend. But personally, guys, I really like rice. I think Korean rice stands out because of its taste, and it just goes well with anything. And you guys are speaking on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So would you guys like to share a bit of snippet as to how much rice you like and how much you eat it?
And I'm not just saying this, I promise, not because we're covering this episode, but I definitely am rice-powered girl. I eat
Papjim girl?
Papjim girl, exactly. Powered by rice, made by rice. I eat a lot of rice, and in Korea, there's this all-time debate of noodle versus rice, right? Myeonpa versus pappa. I'm 100% rice, and I think it's because I grew up with my Grammy's tutelage that rice is power. But also that absolutely love the texture, especially the multigrain. We have the barley and we have this, different textures. And I actually rarely feel bloated. As opposed to if I went out and had like pasta or bread. And I also really love that side dish pairings. With rice, you actually have
many side dishes. Exactly.
And it's kind of like you pair each one and try different sort of pairings.
Right.
And I also think with the seasons, you can also change the kind of side dishes that go with it. So I also kind of really like that too.
So you're a big papjim girl, meaning that you love Korean rice and you're eating it. So you're not a part of this trend. What about you, Walter?
Yeah, I actually do still eat it quite a lot. I'd say 4 out of the 7 days that go past. I wouldn't say I eat it every meal, definitely, but at least once a day. And I just like rice in general, not just Korean rice. I like rice from, let's say, like jasmine rice as an example. Rice is a big part of my diet on an almost daily basis. But yes, it is cut down from how I used to eat it almost every meal.
Right.
So yeah, there is less consumption, but I still eat it at least once a day.
So I guess the local government doesn't need to target you two when it comes to rice consumption. We're already doing our part. But given that we don't import rice and we have a lot left over, Koreans should be eating more rice, but it's not the case given all the reasons that our panelists here in the studio have explained. And the government has been trying to implement various measures to boost up consumption. So could you guys elaborate very briefly on what the measures are and whether they've been effective?
Surely. I think it's lucky that the people sitting here aren't part of the trend, but our generation definitely has consumed rice less and less. And government-sponsored events are definitely one of them that they have been trying. Festivals promoting delicacies and products from rice is one of them, such as, those delicious rice crisps and cookies. And I think, Yeon, your favorite, 식혜?
Yes, I love 식혜.
And 막걸리?
I love makgeolli too, anything with rice.
I love seeing her responses every time I toss one. And actually, my absolute personal favorite, 떡, the Korean rice cake, and of course an actual Western-styled cake made with rice powder. And I go to a lot of these gluten-free cafes, and they actually taste softer and nicer and sit better on your stomach. And what's great is the benefit of rice is just endless. There have been research about the low gluten rate and everything. So I definitely think promoting rice in a government sort of driven effort is amazing.
Exactly, by promoting it through traditional food. Any other policies that were proven effective?
Well, just quickly, I know that rice powder is another thing that we're trying out. And you can find that in products like ramen as well as bread. So yes, rice powder is the new way to go.
And for those of our viewers who might not know what it is, could you explain what rice powder is?
So as you can see, basically they've grounded down the rice to a powdery form, and what they do is basically try to replace it with regular flour. However, saying that, it does not actually replace flour completely. There are only a few things that you can really cook and make. So yeah, it's still got a long way to go, but it's head in the right direction.
And speaking of a long way to go, we're now going to include an expert who's trying to do more on this front. Stay tuned for our live interview. Officials in Korea are trying to boost rice consumption, and to find out whether these policies are effective and why they're needed, we're going to include Park Ji-young in our talks. Ji-young is a researcher specializing in the health benefits of rice. She's an agricultural researcher from the National Institute of Crop Science. Welcome, Ji-young.
Hi, thank you for having me.
All right, Ji-young. So tell us a bit more about yourself and the research you're doing at the moment.
Since 2012, I have been conducting research on useful ingredient and processing technique to expand the consumption of rice among food crops developed in Korea. In particular, my main research materials involve special rice, such as processed rice and functional rice, including color rice with high antioxidant activity, soft rice for rice beer manufacturing, and dodamsal, which is rice cultivar containing resistant starch. Resistant starch is known to be effective in preventing obesity or diabetes. However, it is rarely found in ordinary rice. Dodamsal contains more than 10% of it. And it succeeded in commercialization following several patents and the publication of international and domestic academic papers. It is currently being released as several products for consumers who wish to control blood sugar and weight. Starting this year, we are testing processed rice on wheat flour noodles such as kalguksu and sujabi, which are similar to Italian pasta and lasagna.
Right.
Yes.
Ji-young, our generation is eating less and less rice. What do you think about the drop in per capita consumption? And can you tell us one of the greatest benefits of rice?
Yes, this day rice consumption has decreased alongside the increase in single-person household, less frequent cooking in home, and the popularity of various diets such as Western food and fast food. However, the consumption of processed rice is on the rise. We often eat out and use meal kit because they are convenient option, just like instant rice at home. There was also curious misconception that rice causes weight gain due to some research and broadcasting media. So, however, rice is our state food and our main agricultural crops. This is due to its suitability for farming in Korea, including conditions such as climate and mechanization.
Exactly.
Currently,
Ji-young, due to time, I would like to now go on to the last question. Walter, would you like to do that one?
Yeah, sorry, Ji-young, but briefly, how effective are the government's rice consumption promotion policies at the moment, and what needs more work?
Okay. The government is now implementing policies to promote the consumption of processed rice rather than normal rice. And it is conducting research on the development of numerous processed products with different domestic companies. Thus, processed rice products are diversifying. In particular, local bakeries and companies are developing products suitable for rice, and consumers seem to be aware of this addition through the Bangjisulre event, which is a tour of a famous rice bakery across the country, similar to pilgrimage to Holy Land. So, ongoing research for the development of delicious and high-quality rice products and continuous policy support are needed because rice is more expensive than wheat flour in Korea.
Exactly, and I hope these promotional policies keep going forward because at the end of the day, we are a nation of rice living off of rice power. Papsim. Thank you so much, Jeong. It was a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we also asked our viewers to introduce what their representative dish is like in other parts of the world. Here in Korea, it's rice. So take a look at the screen to find out what 3 of them had to say. Let's start with Hannah. Hannah said, as the whole world may know, rice plays a starring role as Japan's ultimate carbohydrate. It's the backbone of Japanese dining, gracing nearly every meal. Jiaoiki said, in New Zealand, we have a veggie called kumara, which is a sweet orange-colored potato. Kumara are grown like potatoes. And Mola said, in India, we eat wheat and rice. The flatbread made from wheat is called roti. In my home, we eat rice during lunch and roti for breakfast. It's always nice finding out what the representative staple dishes are in other parts of the country. And given that it's going to be Farmers' Day tomorrow, I think I'd now like to end up our discussion on finding out how we should keep rice a representative dish in our menu.
You know, as Jiyoung said, rice does not help you gain weight. It's very healthy and nutrition packed. If you eat anything a lot, you do gain weight. So let's keep a very healthy diet and still support rice because there's countless research about the benefits of it.
Exactly. Walter?
You take rice out of the picture with Korean food, you lose a lot of the actual part of the Korean food. Rice goes with everything in Korean food, so let's continue eating it.
Let's continue eating it. And as Jiyoung mentioned, she is a researcher in agricultural crops, and she briefly mentioned that a lot of farmers and researchers put in so much effort into making better rice for all of us. So in light of Farmers' Day tomorrow, why don't we all have a bowl of rice and better remember that we are a nation living off of this power. Until then, we'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Cheska Dainha.
Pleasure's always mine.
And Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
All right, and thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you next week. We are
News Generation.